I farm alongside my dad, Dan, and my brothers, Torrey and Jaron. And we farm in Northwest Iowa. We're a pretty diverse farm. We have a lot of things going on besides Niman. I first heard about Niman through my dad. I think he was farmer number 4 to join Niman Ranch. So I kind of grew up with it. But my first personal experience was we were on a family vacation, and Dad's like, let's stop at Paul Willis's house. So we did. And yeah, the kids were all like, really? Now I have 4 siblings, and we were all like, really, Dad? We have to stop. But it was really fun. So that was my introduction to Niman. I've been farming for 5 years. I am the 3rd generation to raise pasture porks, the 2nd generation of a Niman Ranch farmer, and the first female farmer. So it's kind of fun. There was something else, but I don't remember what it was.
What did she forget to tell us I was taking her name? We'll bring it out in the next question. That being said, we'll move on into Kirsten, and we'll let Kirsten introduce herself.
I'm Kirsten Eckerman. Some of you guys met us on our bus yesterday. My husband Brad and my kids Ashlyn and David are also in the audience here today. We are the farmers at Quincher Valley Aiken Acres. Some of you already follow us on social media. So we're also on Instagram and Facebook, so that's where that comes from. But I myself am a 5th generation farmer. My family's from Ohio, dairy farmers. They did have some hogs at one point, but mostly dairy farmers. And I grew up on a small 60-acre sheep farm, so shout out to the sheep people here. And then my husband is 3rd generation on the farm we're at now, and my kids make a half. So we're a 3.5 generation family farm in southwest Wisconsin. We became involved with Niman Ranch after riding 2 hours to a feed mill about every 2 weeks to get non-GMO bean meal in Wisconsin, and they said, you guys need to look up Niman Ranch. And the field agent at the time, we were able to reach out to him, mainly because we were already raising hogs the way Niman standards were. So for us to come on to Niman was very easy. This is our 2nd year selling to Niman, and our attachment number is 1450.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Next on the list is John.
I'm John Tamblyn from Tamblyn Family Farm in Manteno, Illinois, and I farm with my 4 daughters and wife, and we're about an hour south of Chicago, so it's kind of a mixed suburban rural area, not a lot of livestock. And we started with Niman. It's been 3 years now. I met them through Google, I guess, because we did a lot of farmers markets, and that area was the markets were kind of changing, so I reached out to them. At that time, they weren't bringing on new farmers, but a year later, we were able to get in, and with our field rep, Christy, we've done really well and been able to grow. And then we also had we didn't have any access to good livestock feed in our area, so we started our own non-GMO feed mill on the farm for our livestock and then for other people in our area.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least is Curt. Go ahead, Curt.
I'm Curt Roseland. I farm in Gilman, Iowa with my dad. It's about an hour east of here. We kind of got hooked up with Niman 15 years ago. We saw an ad or an article in the Des Moines Register. We worked confinement before that and losing a lot of money. So financials really brought us to Niman. Being paid based off of the corn protein matrix, that's a big deal for us to not lose money. I'm the 4th generation on the farm in Iowa, and I've been farming for less than a year now.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing I should say that Curt is a little different than the others. Curt and his dad and mom are wean to finish farmers. For those of you that don't know that, I couldn't believe how many of you, this is the first time you've come to one of these things. Wow. That they get the pigs when they weigh about 20 pounds, and then they will finish them out for us. So Curt and his folks are that way. And then the other 3, including myself that are sitting up here, were actually forever finished farmers. So they're born on the farm, and then they live their whole life there until they go to harvest. The first question I want you guys to answer, and think about this and be pretty thorough with it. I got to be honest, these were modified just a little bit because many of you are first-time visitors with us, so I changed it just a bit. What are the challenges that you guys face? And what overall resiliency stories can you share with us? April, you get to start.
Well, I think my two biggest challenges are health and disease of my pigs. And I'm going against the flow of commodity pork. So in my area in Iowa, we figured out last night, my dad and I, we sat down, we figured out there's 10,000 hogs in a 2-mile radius around my farm. And you don't know that because they're all in confinements and they're all completely shut off from the outside world. So my two biggest things, because of that, because there's so many hogs in the area, that diseases, if they're airborne, they end up on my farm because my farm's not inside, and so if the wind carries anything that's catchable, my pigs tend to catch it. So disease is probably my greatest challenge, is keeping my pigs healthy and happy.
Thank you, thank you. How about you, Kirsten?
I would say my husband and I were talking about this last night, and for us, living where we do in Wisconsin, we battle the weather, just like was mentioned yesterday. We had that negative 38-degree ambient temperatures over wintertime with a negative 55 to 60 below wind chill. So we're fair to finish year round, so we have hogs outside every day, all day long. We do farrow inside, and it's a heated barn, so that helps a lot. So weather for us is a big factor, growing the pigs and making sure that they're happy enough and cool and warm enough to grow efficiently. And then other things are, financials and time. Just like everybody else in any other industry, time and money are the bottom lines. Brad and I both work full-time off the farm as well. He is a millwright and works 40 hours off the farm, and I am a trauma nurse, so I work at a level 1 trauma center in Wisconsin, and I'm off the farm that way as well. So time, efficiency, and money is a big bottom line for us.
Okay, thank you. John?
She took my 3. So time is, I work a full-time job, but I get to work from the farm, so that's fabulous that we still have insurance and stuff for my regular day job. But with starting with just a few hogs a few years ago, efficiency, I still use a shovel and a wheelbarrow quite a bit, so I need to kind of work on that as to get my hog numbers up, and through Niman I can do that as if I raise good hogs, they'll take them. So, and then the weather is always a factor because our hogs are raised outside, obviously. And then third is lack of access to capital, so I can do the efficiency improvements that I need, because we're kind of non-conventional in the way we go about it. So my ag banker is a little more hesitant than maybe he would be if I was doing some conventional practices.
Okay. Curt?
Big surprise here, mine is also money. Haven't been paid since last October when I started farming, and we're putting in like 80, 90-hour weeks. So not getting paid well per hour, I guess. Maybe not minimum wage. So yeah, it's just pretty hard to wake up on those negative 30 days or the 110-degree days and work all day.
Okay, thank you guys, Are we picking up a theme here? Are we seeing similar struggles for these farmers? Next question is, what are unique things that set us, and by us I mean we the Niman Ranch family, what set us apart from the rest of the industry? How would you say that we're special? Why don't I start with you, Kirsten?
I would say just things like the event today, right? I don't know, I'm not real familiar with other parts of the industry, but bringing buyers, farmers, chefs, everybody in one spot. It's like one of the chefs said this morning, it's a big family reunion. We don't know anybody, but you learn to love and know them. But Niman for us is truly a partnership. We can't do what we're doing without Niman, and Niman can't do what they're doing for all of you without us. If we were to try to do this in the commodity market, there's no way. We're too small. We have 60 sows, and forget it, we've gone down a long time ago. The work expo last year, we actually met some folks from Johnsonville, and they asked how many sows we culled every year. Cull means they get sent down the road, they're used up, we don't have a use for them, whether it's genetics or other issues. And I said, well, maybe 2, 3 a year at the most. And they kind of laughed, because they buy $700,000 a year for their brats alone. So for us, it's a partnership, and it sets it apart. And just knowing field agents, knowing the founder, knowing the first name basis is really special.
Awesome, thank you. Curt?
For me, it's mostly the pride, because a majority of my friends are farmers, and there is commodity, and their sense of pride comes from production. It's how many acres they're farming, how many bushels per acre, how many pigs a year. Whereas me, I'm like, have you tried one of my pork chops yet? You gotta have this bacon. And so it's really cool, and we get to have the pride of raising our pigs how I feel is a better way.
How about you, John?
I think the Niman network, like the reps that come out and the reps, and we talk to our rep every week, and the support that we can get as small family independent farms to be able to grow or to improve our production practices and to get paid the way we do is that, oftentimes they'll pick up just 10 or 12 hogs, or we'll deliver 10 or 12 hogs to get picked up on our farm, and then we get paid, per hog. We can get 100% or 103% of the price that we were scheduled to get if we do a good job on our genetics. So the support that they give us is very helpful.
Great. How about you, April?
Well, I appreciate that it is, like we said earlier, like Niman will pick up 5 hogs, which is, most companies wouldn't even consider that. Like, that's a huge advantage to the small guys, that we can deliver that small amount, because sometimes we have maybe 5, 10 hogs that are out of sync with everything else, and it's like, you don't want to send them early because then the meat quality isn't as good, and you don't want to send them too big, because again, you want that nice size pork chop or that nice size piece of meat, and so you want to sell them at the appropriate time. And when you're selling big groups, you don't have the flexibility to choose just those top pigs, because you have to sell the whole group.
So what I'm picking up, it's Niman's willingness to work with you, and Niman's willingness to, I don't want to say tailor-make things so that they can work for you guys, but I'm picking up on quite a bit of a theme here. We have mentioned field agents 2 or 3 times. Would you guys mind sharing with us who your field agent is? And if you're in the room, would you stand up and wave your hands? Why don't you start, Curt?
Our field agent is Jackie Hagar now.
Jackie in here? Probably not. She's out there, Mark rocking out there. Okay. Jackie does an awesome job. She really does. She's been with us for how many years? 4? Probably 4 years. Yeah. Okay. How about you, John?
Our original one was Jackie Kessler, and then we got Christy Smith now. She's in Illinois, and she's a Iowa State grad and does a great job with us.
She's awesome, but I think she even brings her mother to special events too, from what I hear.
She's here.
Are you in here, Christy? You know what? I'm doing this for. Well, that's fine. Poor excuse is better than none. I was going to use this as an excuse to double check and see who all was here. It's kind of backfiring on me. That's fine. So how about you, Kirsten?
Nick Crosby is an artist.
How's he doing? It's kind of new,
It's
isn't it?
fantastic, yeah, it's first year for him.
Uh-huh.
And he actually lives just an hour north of us. And he also raises exclusively Berkshire, which we do too. So those purebreds have little quirks sometimes, and he's already got it worked out.
Amen, sister, amen. Is Nick in the room? Would you stand up, young man? That's her field agent. Thank you. And then, of course, April. Who's your field agent?
Well, currently we have Phil Kramer, but I think we've probably had about every field agent.
You've had some pretty excellent ones over the years, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, phenomenal. Would you care to run down the list of a few of them?
Ron Mardesen. Jim Wallace. Those are the 2 I can think of.
Well, that's the most important one to you. I've got one more question I want to ask them to go into detail on, and then maybe a few questions from you guys. So you'd be putting your thinking caps on. If there's a couple ideas that you're unfamiliar with, or a couple ideas you want to clarify, don't be afraid to ask us. The last question I've got for you guys. What is the one thing you wish consumers knew about farming and Niman Ranch? John, why don't you start this one?
That's a good question. I give it a lot of thought, and I get a whole bunch of different answers in my head. But you're seeing a lot of it here is when you went on the tour yesterday and stuff, just the daily chores that are involved with producing the meat the way we produce it is I think people are more and more removed from that process. So just an opportunity like this to get to see that is I'm working with, you're talking about your social media site and stuff. I'm trying to get involved with that and just put my day-to-day activities out there for people to see and follow along with.
Okay. Kirsten.
I would like for people, one, don't believe everything you see on the internet. And two, farming is not cookie cutter. As far as a lot of you probably know, that there are different ways to farm. There are accepted methods, not accepted methods, but the fact is that consumers have a choice, and I believe that it's our responsibility as an industry and farmers to educate on the best choice, and that, it's hard. This is 1.8% of us feed everybody else, and that's hard. And farming is a culture and a community, and sometimes we're not real good about expressing what it is we do, because we do it every day. It's no big deal to put in 14 hours, 15 hours, or be up at 3 a.m. with that first-time guilt fair and, just to keep an eye on her. And it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that, but it's our responsibility to make sure people know what it is we do and know that there are certain social media avenues and certain other media avenues that make farming out to be the bad guys, and make farming to be maybe not as good for the environment as it could be, which there is some truth to that. But for people to be educate yourself and know what it is that you want to ask. And farmers are very open to questions. We kind of like questions. Believe it or not, we're a humble group. We do like to talk about ourselves sometimes. So just for people to be more educated about the farm, because everybody's been so far removed, I guess would be my biggest request.
April.
Well, I'm going to echo what Kristen said, because time, it's a 24-hour job, and it's hard to leave the farm. Yeah, I'm just thankful I have two brothers that can do the chores while I'm gone and be a part of that. So, and it's usually a family business, like everybody's involved. I have two sisters that are not on the farm, but they come and hang out all the time because that's something special and we're really proud of it.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
For me, I am very new to farming, and so this is something I didn't realize. A lot of us forget that farmers are business owners. There's somewhat of a disconnect there, and I think a lot of people, they don't realize the amount of capital it takes to even get started. A majority of even small farms are multi-million-dollar businesses, and that seems pretty crazy. Going into the bank for the first time, kind of had to sit down afterwards and go, oh boy, that's a lot of money.
It never gets any easier again.
No, and so I don't think, I think it's kind of hard for people to understand that.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to change the rules. I've got one more question to ask, and then I'll let you guys ask questions. We kind of, I don't want to say screwed it over, but we kind of didn't tell everybody maybe I want a resiliency story out of each one of you. Okay, I want to not necessarily a drawn on the line or in the sand type story, but I want you to show these folks why you're doing what you're doing and show them the grit that you've got through an example. Okay, John, you want to start off?
I guess Mine would be our feed mill. There was our farm, when we moved back to it, had been in the family, but for 20 years it had been rented out, so we kind of had to restart everything. There was a corn crib, which is a building that holds the grain from years ago. It had no roof on it or anything, and some bins around it. It was too small really to rent out or anything, but that started my 7-year quest of building a feed mill. So we started working on that, and ended up being my own electrician and all that, because you couldn't get somebody to come or you couldn't afford to pay them. So I've kind of, now we're licensed in 4 different states and have our own extruder and make our own meal, and it's just kind of been definitely a labor of love. If you ask my wife and 4 daughters who help out, my labor of love, maybe not theirs, but it came to completion and it worked out. So now I'm able to help other small farmers that would have to go buy organic grain for $30 a bag. Now they can get a non-GMO bag of feed for $17 from us, and instead of raising just 12 chickens, maybe they can raise 100. So that's my story.
Awesome. Curt?
Not so much about me, but my dad. When we switched over to Niman, we were confinement before, and those confinement buildings are expensive. And so we had to fill in those pits, and like Dad said, he covered up hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of concrete. And so that was a really big gamble. We had to take a year off without income just to make this jump. And I mean, we haven't looked back, so.
Thank you. April.
Well, my resiliency story just actually happened not that long ago. We had a grain bin catch on fire, and we lost a third of the grain in that bin. And it's all on the ground, it's real smoky, and we can use most of it, but there's this one section, and my brother came up to me the other day and he goes, well, there's nothing wrong with that seed, it's just smoky. Why don't we plant it and use it for cover crop instead of just letting it sit there on the ground? So I think in the next couple of weeks we will plant it in the ground, and it will grow and be a beautiful crop.
Kirsten?
We had some personal resiliency stories, but I think for us overall in farming, I don't think people realize how many hats farmers wear either. Because you have to be a businessman, you have to be somewhat of a vet, you have to be a midwife, you have to be a nutritionist, you have to a mechanic, you have to be an electrician, you have to be a nurse, you have to do all these things that you really don't think about that come, to us naturally. You have to adapt and overcome. The most recent resiliency story for at least our farm was in March. I had an injury in the barn, and I had to have surgery. It was in a cast all summer, and had to have surgery, and I'm still on restrictions. But my son, who's 12, had to take over a lot of my farming activities. So his summer break turned into a lot more farming than he signed on for. But he was up every morning, he did all the chores. I went down with him for the first week or two just to make sure he was on track doing things. Didn't complain too much, but maybe a little bit. But you have to. Family farming is just that, it's farming with family. And like Ron had said yesterday, it's not a one-person show, no matter what. And we're here this weekend because my father-in-law is home with the Sal's and everybody else, on 300 plus rest of them on the farm right now, watching over and doing the chores for us. So resiliency for us is just kind of everyday thing.
Thank you. Thank you. So are you seeing a theme here? Are you getting a feeling for what works and what the resiliency is in these folks? It's an unbelievable financial stress. It's an unbelievably long day. Sometimes I'll bet it's a lonely day. Sometimes I'll bet it's a frustrating day. But every one of them is willing to work, and every one of them is willing to help other folks. So that's what makes these people so special. You know what? There's 736 just like them. that work with the Niman family. What questions do you guys have for these guys? They've come a long way to answer them, so don't be afraid. Yes, sir.
Traveling seeing farms even out in the East Coast, a lot of farms are 80 to 100, 150 years old, and just like in our stores, we have 3 supermarkets, there's such a need for capital to invest in. What's that challenge look like for the next generation of, the barns that are getting old and tired and looking at that investment, or tractors that's just gotta be so scary, working on slim margins?
The question was basically a question about financing it down the future, replacing existing equipment, facilities and stuff, and what's the challenges? You want to start, April?
Well, in my particular area, land value is really high and really expensive, and so that's what we're dealing with, that challenge of, okay, the next generation is not going to be able to do it because they can't afford to get in unless you have family members that are already there. Like, it's really hard to start farming. So I think that is the question, and I think we all deal with it, is how do we make it affordable for the next generation?
That's actually something we're dealing with right now with our equipment getting very, very old. And my father-in-law's buildings, needing updates. We're hoping instead of, having to buy brand new equipment, brand new buildings, we're gonna have to make do for now and update as we can, and then pass it on hopefully to one of our kids that have become invested into it right now. My husband was talking yesterday about having them start to, they're only 10 and 12, but starting to have a say in, what should we do, what should we update, so they have something invested in the farm other than their sweat, tears, and some memories. Make them want to be a part of it a little bit more. And we are going to also have to replace tractors and a feed mill, which we grind our own feed as well, and we make the decision on what's more important right now. What's the most important piece of equipment we need to have? So prioritizing and kind of spacing stuff out.
Awesome, thank you. John?
We're going through that right now, I guess, too, as I have an aunt that's out of state, and she's in her 80s, and she's willing to sell us this adjacent ground that's been in the family for close to 100 years. But the question is can we afford to do it? Even if I'm willing to take the risk, because I'm a farmer and I know and understand that, but is my banker, and then my daughter Emily is here, she's a junior at Iowa State in animal science, so it would be nice that that land could go from her great aunt, to her sometime. So it's a challenge, and I don't have all the answers yet.
Curt?
Yeah, me and Dad are going through that too, but we're expanding that way, set us up for success in the future. But, we're on our 4th building this year that just the 2 of us are putting up.
The hoop buildings,
Two
right?
buildings, yeah.
Does everybody know what a hoop building is? Just so you know, there were 2 or 3 on the farm here, so they're very big. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're doing everything. We're doing all the labor, pouring our own concrete, and just to save costs, but still it's a big jump.
A lot of sweat equity too, isn't it? Yeah.
I wanted to say one more thing. I thought of that now, like scholarship program in Niman Ranch and the guild program, they all help with that too, to get in and to start up. That's really nice.
Yes. What other questions do we have? Yes?
Question, excuse me, for Curt. When you guys changed from commodity farming to Niman system, you talked about having to fill in the concrete beds from the alignment buildings. Once they were filled, were you able to use that area? Did you have to take those buildings down, or did you find a different use for them? And how long have you been doing the commodity farming before you went to Niman?
I think Dad started commodity hog farming in the 80s.
Do you want to answer that one?
Been doing it long time. Yeah. Long time.
Forever is his answer, forever.
So were those buildings ready to come down, or did you leave with any purpose?
No, we kept using them, we filled them in, and so we're using them now. One building is a nursery, and then we farrowed out of one barn when we did farrow, and now we're kind of using that as a finishing barn.
What they had to do, I think if I remember right when you guys came on, was they had to retrofit everything, do a significant amount of remodeling to make the big existing buildings they had non-compliant, right?
Yeah, and we had to pour concrete outside and kind of gate up, make outside access for them and make it so we could get a skid loader into these buildings, and that was a lot of work.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes?
So, John and Kirsten, you guys have conventional jobs outside of farming also, correct? You were just recently injured. What happens to farmers that don't have conventional jobs or health insurance outside of a conventional job and you get injured? How do you factor that into, could that put the farm at risk if it's a major injury or something?
I can tell you absolutely. Working in the hospital, in the emergency room especially, farming is one of the most dangerous jobs in the United States. I think it's in the top 5. And I see quite a few farm injuries, and I honestly said I had graduated to the official farmer status when I did injure my wrist. We were processing piglets at the time. It's first pen that it happened. Finished all 24 pens before I went to the ER. So, but it's a tricky fine line. My in-laws are actually walking this right now. They had insurance through the marketplace, the Obamacare marketplace, and then all of a sudden their income must have dropped to a certain point where the state of Wisconsin said, well, you don't make enough money, so now you have to go on Badger Care, which is the Medicaid, Medicare area, which there's a lot of fluctuation with that. But there are people who do not have any insurance. So, one trip to the emergency department can be thousands of dollars. So a lot of health needs don't get met with farming communities, especially rural communities like where we live. The closest hospital's 30 miles away, and it's a critical access hospital. So there's very limited resources. Nearest ambulance, it takes 30 minutes for an ambulance to get to my house. So you're going to have the farming community put off health care, one, because they don't have insurance, and the cost of health care in general is so high. And then you have bigger problems later on. We kind of have jokes that we see an old farmer come in and we've got issues because they don't come to the doctor unless they're half dead. And then they always have something to do with the farm. So if they need to stay in the hospital, a lot of times they don't, because farming is your livelihood. That is your income. And if nobody's there to help you on the farm, or if you don't have the funds to pay somebody to help you, you're a sitting duck. So there are tons of us in the farming community that do not access health care. One, because it is a logistical issue, wherever they are located, and the other one is a funding issue. Because a lot of us, when you do that tax return, can be in the negative, so there's just not extra.
In our situation, I guess I catch myself kind of being more careful, because like last winter was abnormally icy and cold and everything, and then you slip on the ice and you rinse your back for 2 or 3 days, it kind of slows you down, and you realize that there isn't really a backup person because your kids got to go to school and stuff like that, so chores still got to get done. So in our case, if I didn't have my regular day job with good insurance, it would probably prevent me, between that and if it wasn't a Niman farmer, I probably wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Ian, yes, Carrie?
You just sort of answered it, John, but when we were on the phone, I think Ron asked the question, would you still be farming or at least raising pigs if it weren't for that ranch?
That's right. This is for everybody. Would you still be raising pigs if it weren't for Niman Ranch?
Well, I'm in a unique situation because I have so many siblings and a father, and we have quite a bit of diversity. So I don't know if I would be a Niman Ranch farmer.
You don't have a choice, honey. I know who your dad is.
Well, yeah. But if it wasn't for Niman Ranch, we definitely would not have hogs on our farm at all.
We would have hogs, but they wouldn't be sold to market. We would have probably a sow and a boar and provide
guess I would be just like Kirsten, because when they first asked that question, I'm like, well, of course I would, I love pigs. But that doesn't really pay the bills, and the farmers markets have changed such that it's not profitable for us anyway, to go and do those markets. So it would probably be a no, or it would be a very limited number of hogs, because, we like that for our own use.
I definitely wouldn't be farming at all, just at my age. When I went into the bank, I could tell the banker was a little nervous at first when I said I want some money to farm pigs. He's kind of, have you looked at the market? And then I think he was in disbelief when we told him that, we get paid based off of corn and soybean. It's not based off of commodity markets. And he loosened up after that.
Good, glad to hear that. What other questions do we have? Oh, go ahead.
Well, not many people, or most people might know this, we do in Iowa, but your animals have their own personalities, and your animals probably have their own resiliency as well. Maybe share a funny story about your animals, or an experience you've had that you can share with everybody.
That's an awesome idea. I'm going to start out. Did you see that picture this morning, the A-frame acres in the wintertime, and that pig standing? You know why that sow was standing where she was when that picture was taken? Because I couldn't get to my cell phone fast enough to take a picture of her standing on the porch. True story, true story. Anyway, April, you go for it.
What was the question again?
Your animals and
An animal story.
an experience you've had with them, or their resilience.
Your animal's resiliency.
Well, I guess when I was going through a boatload of diseases and I came to the end of the farrowing and I had one sow left and I thought, I hope she has a good litter. I really hope she has lots of babies. Like, I really need pigs. And I thought, she's not going to. She didn't look like a big sow. She was pretty little. She farrowed. She had 18 pigs. Not all of them lived, but I had 14 at the end, and so her name is Mrs. 14 because she had 14 pigs.
Wow, good for you, good for you. Kirsten.
You are 100% correct on the personalities. We have a variety of personalities in the sows and the boars, and they all, well, not all, now that we have a couple more, but they have names. We had a mash stain going for a little while, so we had Hawkeye, and we had Potter, and we have Cowboy and Klinger right now. But the I guess most recent resiliency story was farrowing this spring. We got a picture, I got a picture from my husband, I don't know where I was at, but we had a first-time gilt who decided she didn't want a farrow in the barn, and ended up rooting up my mother-in-law's flower bed, and had her babies right there in the flower bed in front of everybody. So that, they're hardy, they're weather hardy, they're gonna do what they wanna do. But she got moved back in the barn and was just happy as can be.
Well, good. John, you got a story? Oh, are you done, Kirsten?
Her name's Flower.
We've got one, they're not all named, but this one named Zika, as in like the Zika virus. And, because she can get out of anything, she's really, really pretty ornery. And, but she has great litters and great pigs, and, so, she's out quite often. And somebody will drive by, and you got a pig out. I said, well, she won't go far. She knows her, she goes back. So, yeah, she's kind of challenging.
We've all got a few of those, believe me. Okay, Curt.
When we used to farrow, we went on vacation one time and had a neighbor doing chores for us. So he's going out and letting the sows out to eat and do the business. And then he called us and said, I've been trying to get this sow back in her farrowing crate for hours with a lot of breath on the phone. He said, how can I get this big black sow, into a pen? And that explained to him that you can't move her the way you move pigs. You have to crawl into the pen, and then she'll follow you in there.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
What is the most rewarding part of being a farmer?
Good question. Why don't you start that one off, John?
I've been asked that before. I love being outside, whether it's negative 32 degrees or 105. Most days I like being out there, but I love being outside, and then I love when people say that they line up to get our bacon or our pork chops or something at a farmer's market, and then working with, I got 4 daughters, so working with them outside is those are my top 3.
Sweet, good. Kirsten?
There are so many things, just to narrow it down to one, it's really hard. But for us, as a family, it's having that family time on the farm, actually, and knowing that our kids are being instilled with the work ethic that we were, and just seeing them grow and enjoy the same things that we do. And of course, everybody loves baby piglets.
That's what I hear, yeah. Curt?
Unlimited bacon.
I don't know how to follow that. I think, like Kristen said, there's a lot of things to enjoy, but I think just seeing those little pigs run around and rooting in the dirt, and just seeing them do what they were designed to do, and yeah, that brings great joy.
Awesome.
Say the worst day on the farm is better than the best day at any other job for us.
Sweet, sweet. We get it, guys, we get it. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. Okay. Any other questions? Well, they're telling me in the back we're out of time. So, thank you very much.